Remember those magical days of 1977? While everyone talks about Saturday Night Fever and Star Wars, there's a treasure trove of incredible music that time seems to have forgotten. I'm here to take you back to some remarkable songs that deserve their moment in the spotlight again. Ready? Let's go! Let's start with Couldn't Get It Right by the Climax Blues Band. Now, this British group actually began as the Climax Chicago Blues Band in 1968, getting their start in England's industrial heartland. They had to drop Chicago from their name after the actual band Chicago threatened legal action, a move that sparked quite a bit of controversy in the British music scene at the time. The band went through multiple lineup changes before finding their groove, with Pete Haycock's distinctive guitar work and Colin Cooper's powerful vocals. While they started as a pure blues band, by 1977 they had evolved into something entirely different, incorporating elements of funk and soft rock that helped them break into the American market. Here's something fascinating. The song was actually written about the band's frustrating experiences with their record label. They recorded it in the Netherlands because they couldn't afford studio time in London, and the recording was done in just 2 takes. The laid-back groove that made the song famous was actually a happy accident. They were all exhausted from traveling and played it slower than intended. Moving on to Slide by Slave, this funk masterpiece came from a group of teenagers from Dayton, Ohio. The band formed in 1975 when most members were still in high school, and their youth became both their greatest asset and biggest challenge. Record executives initially dismissed them as too young and inexperienced, but their raw energy and innovative sound could not be ignored. The song's iconic bass line was created by Mark Adams, who famously couldn't read music and played entirely by ear. The band's dynamic live performances often included synchronized dance moves that they practiced for hours in drummer Steve Washington's garage. Their record label actually tried to convince them to tone down their aggressive funk style, but they refused to cooperate. In a twist of fate, Mark Adams created the famous bass line while practicing with a broken string. He was too broke to buy new strings at the time, so he worked with what he had, creating that distinctive sound we all know today. The limitation became innovation, proving sometimes the best art comes from working within constraints. Smoke from a Distant Fire by the Sanford Townson Band brings us to a tale of 2 keyboard players who met in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Ed Sanford and John Townsend were session musicians who grew tired of playing other people's music and decided to create their own sound. Their journey to success was anything but smooth. They actually wrote this song while living in a converted chicken coop in California. The duo's unique blend of Southern rock and California smooth caught the attention of several record labels, but each one wanted to change their sound. They stuck to their guns and eventually found a home with Warner Brothers, where they were given creative control. The song's production was handled by Jerry Wexler, who had previously worked with Aretha Franklin and Led Zeppelin. Would you believe that the iconic horn section on this track was almost cut from the final version? The studio thought it was too Memphis for 1977, but the band insisted it stayed. The decision paid off, as those horns became one of the most memorable parts of the song. Hey friends, if you're enjoying this trip down memory lane, take a moment to hit that like button. Better yet, share your own memories of these songs in the comments below. Were you dancing to these tunes in 1977? Maybe you heard them on a first date. Don't forget to subscribe to catch more forgotten gems from our glory days. Float On by the Floaters represents Detroit's smooth soul at its finest. The group formed in the city's public housing projects, and their story is one of determination against all odds. Their unique approach of having each member introduce themselves with their zodiac sign was initially mocked by radio programmers who thought it was too gimmicky. What many don't know is that the song was recorded in just one take, with all 4 members standing around a single microphone. The now famous zodiac sign introductions weren't even planned. They were improvising in the studio when someone suggested they personalize their verses. The result captured lightning in a bottle and created a sound that defined an era. Here's an interesting tidbit. The group actually performed the song on Soul Train without any rehearsal. Don Cornelius was so impressed with their impromptu performance that he invited them back for 3 more appearances that same year. Telephone Man by Mary Wilson takes us in a completely different direction. Wilson was actually a school teacher in Atlanta when she recorded this suggestive novelty hit. The song's double entendres caused quite a stir, with several radio stations refusing to play it despite its popularity. Wilson's record label actually tried to market her as a serious artist initially, but her clever wordplay and humor won out.
Hey baby, I'm your telephone man. You just show me where you want it and I'll put...
The song's success led to a brief but fascinating career change for Wilson. She left teaching and began performing at corporate events, where executives would often request private performances, much to their wives' dismay. The controversy only helped fuel the song's success, though many critics dismissed it as a one-hit wonder. A lesser-known fact, Wilson wrote the song based on her actual experience with a telephone installer who was, by all accounts, completely oblivious to the song's double meanings when he heard it years later. Undercover Angel by Alan O'Day tells the story of a songwriter who had written hits for others but finally found his own voice. O'Day had penned songs for the Righteous Brothers and Helen Reddy before this solo success. The song's dreamy narrative actually came to him in a real dream, though his record label initially rejected it as too bizarre.
Undercover Angel, midnight fantasy.
The recording session for this track was notable for its tension. O'Day fought with his producer over the arrangement, insisting on keeping the theatrical elements that many thought would doom the song's commercial prospects. The dispute got so heated that the producer walked out, leaving O'Day to finish the recording himself. Did you know that O'Day wrote the song in response to the disco movement? He wanted to create something that had the same energy, but with more complex storytelling. He called it his answer to the mindlessness of disco, though, ironically, many disco DJs ended up playing it in their sets. If these stories are bringing back memories, don't keep them to yourself. Hit that subscribe button and share this video with your friends who lived through these amazing times. Black Betty by Ram Jam brings us to one of the most interesting musical transformations of 1977. The band was actually created after the song was recorded. Bill Bartlett had originally recorded the song with his previous band, Starstruck, but producers Kenny Laguna and Mickey Boast saw bigger potential. They remixed the track, assembled a new band around Bartlett, and Ram Jam was born.
Black Betty, bam, lamb. Whoa, Black Betty, bam, lamb, Black Betty.
The controversy surrounding this song went beyond just music. Many civil rights groups protested the song's release, citing concerns about its historical context and lyrics. The original Black Betty was an 18th century African-American work song, and some felt Ram Jam's hard rock version was exploitative. Despite this, or perhaps because of it, the song became an international hit. Here's something that most people don't know. The iconic guitar riff that drives the song was actually played on a $50 pawn shop guitar through a broken amplifier. Bartlett couldn't afford better equipment at the time, but the resulting distorted sound became the song's signature. Angel in Your Arms by Hot tells a story of persistence in the music industry. The group formed in Los Angeles and spent years performing in small clubs before getting their break. The 3 female vocalists, Gwen Owens, Kathy Carson, and Juanita Curiel, had all been backup singers for other artists and were determined to make it on their own terms.
Let the angel in your arms this morning.
The song itself had been rejected by several other artists before Hot recorded it. The original demo was much slower, but producer Clayton Ivey suggested speeding it up to give it more energy. This changed everything, transforming it from a ballad into a driving pop hit that captured the zeitgeist of 1977. An interesting detail about this recording, the piano track was actually played on an upright piano that was missing several keys. The pianist had to work around the broken keys, creating unique chord voicings that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Ariel by Dean Friedman perfectly captures a specific moment in time. Friedman wrote this song about a real encounter he had at a Paramus, New Jersey Dairy Queen. He was actually studying at City College in New York when he penned this quirky love song, and the record label initially passed on it, thinking it was too regional and specific. The song's references to vegetarianism and Buddhism were quite controversial for mainstream radio at the time. Some stations in the South refused to play it, considering it too counterculture. However, its honest portrayal of young love resonated with listeners who were tired of overproduced love songs. Here's a surprising fact. The real Ariel heard the song on the radio and came to one of Friedman's concerts. She was indeed a Buddhist who lived in New Jersey, but that's where the similarities ended. She was flattered by the song, but married with children by the time it became a hit. Cherry Baby by Stars closes out our journey through 1977's forgotten hits. This New Jersey band was formed from the ashes of Looking Glass, which was famous for their hit Brandy, and their record label positioned them as America's answer to Kiss. The band's image was carefully crafted to appeal to both hard rock and pop audiences, though this eventually led to tension within the group.
Cherry baby, cherry.
The recording sessions for Cherry Baby were notoriously difficult. The band went through 3 producers and recorded the song 12 times before getting the version that was released. Their perfectionism paid off, though, as the song showcased their ability to blend hard rock power with pop sensibilities. A fascinating detail, the band's manager actually hired people to call radio stations and request the song, creating artificial demand. This practice, known as paper ads, was common in the 70s but rarely admitted to. The strategy worked initially, but may have ultimately hurt the band's credibility. These songs from 1977 might not make it onto the usual best of list, but they each tell a unique story about a transformative time in music history. If you remember these songs, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What memories do these songs bring back? What forgotten gems from 1977 did I miss? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to join our community of music lovers.